Hello, everyone. This is Patrick Russell, class of '89 and a Blue Jay. And this is episode 7 of the We Want More Vodcast.
Winds up, takes it, goes forward, scores another one for Hopkins.
Just called it right, and they're shot the goal right out front. The Blue Jays
does not wear a brace. Never has shown any adverse effects. Harrison with it. Big shot. Scores! Kyle Harrison goes high. That's it. It's over. Johns Hopkins has won its ninth national championship.
Pete, hello, and good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing well today, doing well. Spring here in the Northeast, I think, is finally sprung, as they said. So looking forward to lacrosse games in nice spring weather and not 30 degrees and rainy.
Yeah, we're getting close.
But, here we go.
I don't know if we're out of the woods yet, but we're getting close.
Well, thank you for joining us. I know you all had practice this morning, and appreciate you giving some time to talk today. I know that you're looking on to the Navy game coming up tomorrow, but let's quickly wrap up the Syracuse game last week. A really hard-fought game, neutral site, great attendance from fans, up and down, frenetic, couple penalties, very physical. Just give us a summary of what you thought about that Syracuse-Hopkins matchup.
Yeah, sure. I mean, your assessment of it was pretty accurate right there. I don't have a whole lot more to add on the general side, but competitive game. I thought it was emotionally and fought hard by both sides. Some tough plays. They made a few more plays than us, and that's what resulted in the score that it did. I thought we were digging in as we got farther down the game. I thought we were making plays and closing a gap that we had allowed to get too big, but in the end just fell a little bit short, and got to take it as a learning opportunity and things to get better at. Got to be more disciplined, stay out of the box, a little bit cleaner on the clears, and we need to win that possession battle a bit better.
Sure.
It can't just be on faceoffs. It's got to be on ground balls and everywhere.
All right, quick question. Three things that you felt like, okay, this hurt us, or this is what we need to improve on for the next game going forward. And then perhaps maybe, three things that you really did like about the matchup against Syracuse.
Sure. I would say things we need to do better. The first one's clearing the ball. For the most part, it's been something that's gone in the right direction for us this season so far. But we had a tough day with it. They wrote us well. We made some poor decisions. A couple passes didn't go where we wanted them to. I think defensively we need to stay a little bit better within the system. I think we strayed a bit too much, and I think they buy in, and they trust the coaches and what we're doing. I think maybe it was more of the intensity and in the emotion, the situation maybe got the better of us. We stayed better there. I thought for the most part the offense was great in the second half. I think they can start a little bit sharper. I think we could have gotten off to a cleaner start, reduce turnovers, had better possessions in that first quarter, but all in all, it's a team effort, team game that when you win them, you win them. When you don't, you don't. And so I can't really point to any one specific area. There was a few. Things we did do well. I thought we battled back and played through to the end. And that's a surprise, but I was happy to see that there was a confidence that we were going to close that gap and pull even, and we fell just short. I thought, the offense did do a very good job, working on the efficiency in the second half, and handled those things well. And I thought there were some players that stepped up and played decent games. It's just, unfortunately, it wasn't enough guys for us to pull that one out with, good competition. They played well, and I don't want to take any of the credit away from them. So,
right.
We could be better, but, they did their job well. So
sure.
Good for them. They won.
Sure. Understood. And I know that we, from a result standpoint, struggled at the X a little bit. They had two phenomenal face-off guys, as do we, but they just had that better day. It's one of those battles, I think, where tomorrow we could be coming out on top in the face-off battle. And they had tremendous goalie play.
They got a strong goalie. I thought Chase was probably one of our best performers on Saturday as well.
Yeah.
I thought we gave up a few too many quality shots and maybe bailed us out a bit. But yeah, the matchup at the X didn't go our way. We used both guys. They used multiple. I thought their wings did a good job, but Yeah, I mean, those things sometimes they go your way, and we just got to be a little bit better at handling those situations.
Right. Understood. And the physicality of the game, as we do this podcast, and we always talk about, back in the day, it's great to see the physical nature of the game, but obviously there's a big concern for player safety and things of that nature. And both teams had penalties on
Mm-hmm.
hits. It's really a difficult situation in today's game, isn't it? I mean, trying to determine give referees credit. It's hard, right? Because
Yeah.
is that a clean hit? We, the viewers, had the benefit of instant replay. Gee, that
Mm-hmm.
was shoulder to shoulder. That wasn't to the head. It wasn't a cross check. That plays a factor today, right? Because we tend
Yeah.
to we tend to throw the flag more often.
Well, I think the game, the way it's being reffed is changing a little bit, and I think it's based around player safety. So you can't argue with that element that we want, to keep guys healthy and reduce, injuries and hits to the head and things like that. So you're hoping for it to be as fair and as accurate as possible. Refs are doing a great job for the most part. They make mistakes like we all do too. So we're all there, on game day. And so I didn't have any criticism with that. I understand that you don't always see the same things, and sometimes it's a split-second decision, and it's more about teaching our guys to make adjustments to the way the games are played. I know people looking from perspective of 20, 30 years ago, they weren't penalties, and that's just where the thing has changed.
Right.
It's not called the
Right.
same way as it was in the past, and so we've got to make those adjustments. We've got to find ways
Understood.
to change the mechanics of the way we're making those collisions, and
Right.
keep our hits below the shoulders, and making sure we're not extending our hands, and get that indirect contact, which is direct is 2 minutes, indirect is 1 minute, and if it's indirect, like sometimes not even, you're not doing it on purpose. It just happens because of that collision. So you just need to be better at executing that phase of the game.
Yeah. Anish and Paul Carcaterra mentioned this several times in the broadcast, and rightfully so. We're very good at sliding. We play aggressively, we play out, and we're usually pretty good at the double team. When that Syracuse midfielder or attackman turns his back, the double's coming, and we were able to cause turnover and dislodge the ball a number of times.
Yeah, that's part of the way the defense is designed, and some teams are more susceptible to it than others. I thought Syracuse handled it really well, and maybe we had to pull back a few times on those because they're not easy to get the ball out of their sticks. But yeah, I mean, I think coaches is setting the system that way, and our guys pride themselves on the way that they play the ball, the way that they support each other, and so the pace and the efficiency of that slide and recovery needs to be done well, and when you play a good team and you make a mistake at it, they find that window. So
Yeah.
it's a learning opportunity for us. But I thought there was some good there, and then there were some opportunities where we just didn't we didn't close the gap enough.
Sure. One last thing from sort of a team perspective, it was almost kind of the tale of two halves. Really tightly contested first half. We did miss. We missed a couple of shots in the first half. We were getting the looks, just weren't getting them on cage. And then in the second half, it seemed like goals were coming. It was like,
yeah,
I think I said this in a previous conversation. It was like a boxing match, right? The first 5 minute rounds, you're sort of jabbing and figuring each other out. And then in round 6 to 10, the haymakers come out. So it was sort of a tale of two halves.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. I thought we. But both teams were a little bit slower offensively in the first half, and in the second half it opened up a little bit more. Maybe it's feeling out process. Maybe it's just a little bit of urgency when you see that the clock starting to wind down. But I thought we found a little bit more of a rhythm in the second half on the offensive end, but unfortunately so did they. So
Yeah.
It's all phases. That's the biggest
Sure.
probably takeaway is that we lost by one, and I think there was just a lot of categories that we fell a little bit short. We weren't sharp enough across the board.
Sure. And let's just touch on a couple players quickly. Again, Garrett Degnan, great game. But what's really impressive, said this previously before, is he's getting his goals in different sorts of ways. He's not sort of time and room shooting. He's getting some off the dodge, getting some off the cut. The offense seems to be working to diversify his repertoire.
Yeah, I would even just right away direct that to the way, by design, Coach Crawley has that plan put together. He wants those guys in different spots. He wants to make sure that they're not just settling into the same
Right.
routine, that they're changing it up. Sometimes he puts them on the other side. He puts Angel up top and Garrett on the right side, different things
Yeah.
like that. So they have to find different windows. And if Garrett gets a short stick in a good spot, then he goes after him. If he's open off ball, then he lets it fly. And,
Sure.
they are all kind of looking at it in the same regard. But Garrett's an aggressive shooter, so he's going to get,
Yeah.
if he gets hands free, you gotta be comfortable that
Sure.
those are good shots for us when
Yeah.
he's got an open look.
Yeah, definitely fun to watch. Everyone likes the relief pitcher that throws 110 miles an hour, right? But it's also
Mm-hmm.
nice to see the relief pitcher that has sort of 5 different, pitches in his
Mm-hmm.
rotation, and he's getting there with that. Number 2, I'd like to talk to you about Russell Melendez and the fact that I see him a lot now as like a quarterback. Obviously Russ is a great player, but it's interesting. He's sort of a quarterback. We traditionally think of a quarterback at X, right? But he's a quarterback from the side, from up top, and from behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's a lot of fans and alums out there going, gee, I wonder when Russ is going to get his 4-goal game. But he's leading in other ways. Agreed?
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I don't overthink the statistics of it. At the end of the day, I want everybody to have 4 goals, but we're getting to 12, 13 goals for the most part. I think, he's contributing to that in a lot of ways. Sometimes it's on the scoreboard, sometimes it's the intangibles. He has a presence out there. Coach Crawley will continue to move those guys around to find the best matchups and scenarios. So, Russ can come out of the box at times. He can put him behind. Sometimes he's in an off-ball role, and sometimes he's an initiator. And I think he's doing a good job of letting the game play and letting the game come to him and finding his windows. I think there's probably a few that were close that he wishes he had back or could have fallen if
Right.
things were subtly different. But we got all the faith in the world in Russ, and I think it's just a matter of time. But I don't think it's for any lack of effort or focus or anything like that. I think he's doing a great job. And I don't think for a second he overthinks the significance of like his point value on the offensive end. Like, he's out there, he's one of our top guys. If we score and we win, then I don't think it matters to him
Right.
as much as it matters to anybody, like who
Yeah.
scores what. As long as we're winning, I think that's great.
Sure. I alluded to quarterback, attackman. I played with Mike Morrill, who was really a fundamental guy, who would get points, but he was really a leader. The Stanwyck brothers and like Dave Marr, who played with Terry Reardon and Brian Bacola. Those are like quarterback attackmen, and I kind of see Russ in that role. Anyway, as a fan. 2 freshmen, Hunter Chevette and Jimmy Ayers, really coming into their own, really poised, really mature as freshmen. Talk to us about those 2 guys.
Yeah, very different young men. Hunter's got a lot more of an off-ball presence in a lot of ways. He's got range similar to Garrett and a quick release, and he could vary that release. And so, he kind of came up pretty hot the first couple games and scored a few. And he's settling into his role in the midfield and getting used to seeing things from different spots up there. But confident shooter. He's got a good poise and a presence when he's on the field and handles those different things well. Teams throwing a few look at him. He's on the power play, so he's getting some looks and I think doing a good job. Jimmy Ayers had a little bit slower of a start, but I don't necessarily think it was for any reason other than he takes some time to settle in, and I think he's starting to do that. He's seen some things. Some of those shots have fallen. He's building on some confidence. He's
Right.
Elevating his play as an off ball impact and not just an initiator. And I think he's got the ability from a lot of different spots and a lot of different ways to contribute. And I think he's just starting to come into his own. I think he's doing a
Sure.
great job, and he works hard every day.
Great. Last comment about the Syracuse game. It was a neutral site game in Charlotte. I think it was allotted a Syracuse home game, right? You like the neutral site opportunity? Do you not want to miss a game at Homewood if we were given that same opportunity? I mean, how did you like the venue? And 2, do you like the occasional neutral site game?
I'm fine with neutral sites. I'm not, necessarily for or against them. I mean, I would obviously much rather play at Homewood, but there was kind of an odd mix-up like through the COVID era, and then right after, the first time we scheduled Syracuse that I've been here, they ended up losing a home game because of that whole stretch, and so this was kind of the way of balancing it back out because I didn't really want to go back to the Dome 2 years in a row.
Right.
So we put a neutral site in between, and that kind of balanced us out a little bit. I thought it was a decent compromise, but we're going to play whoever, wherever, whenever we need to. I would love every game to be on Homewood. We don't,
Right.
we don't get that allowance, but we'll
Sure.
do our best to keep the home fans happy as much as possible.
Yeah.
So we'll get
And
those guys back here soon enough.
we played there before, right, in Charlotte?
We have not since I've been here. We
Okay.
haven't played there.
Right.
The Crown Classic is a good neutral site event. They've been showcasing a handful of teams, 4 or 5 games a year. They've been doing it for a handful of years. It's a nice event, and we played right after the Hopkins women, and they had a great day and a great win against Stony Brook, who's a top 5 team, and it was exciting to be there, kind of on the field, waiting to take the field for our pregame warm up and watching the clock tick down as they finished off a great win. So it's just kind of exciting day for us to share that experience.
Outstanding. Yes, the Stony Brook women had come off an upset at the Carrier Dome against the Syracuse women, then faced the Jays, and the Jays came out victorious. So shout out to Coach McCormick and his staff.
Yep,
and
doing a great job.
And the ladies of the Jays. All right, so Pete, we're moving on to Navy. Feel like a broken record here. Rivalry. What kind of? Instead of just saying another rivalry game, why don't we just label it like what kind of rivalry? This will be, I believe, the 93rd matchup with Navy. It's sort of that Baltimore-Annapolis thing. Always highly contested because regardless of which team is up or down in a given year, I remember in the aughts, there was literally 10 straight games where I think it was a 1-goal or overtime victory for one team or the other. And it's always a great rivalry game and highly contested. Obviously, Navy, for no pun intended, is very well disciplined. What do you see in Navy coming up tomorrow at Homewood Field that you need to be careful of?
The intensity, competitive nature. They will be disciplined. They're going to be bought in. They play well together. They're physical. They've got some size and athleticism. There's no doubt. It's been a tough matchup the last couple of years with them. It's my first experience with against Navy and in this rivalry obviously was just a couple of years ago, and so they've been close games. They've been tightly contested. We would expect to have a similar type of environment on Friday night, and we just need to put our best foot forward and get out there and compete for everything like we know how.
Sure. Also, just want to say it's nice that it's a Friday evening game. I think we played them on a Friday last year. It gets viewers. I mean, I think a lot of people, who aren't physically at Homewood Field love to be able to turn on the TV on a Friday night, like this is the game to watch. So it's always nice to have a Friday evening contest with Navy.
Yeah, I think it's a cool environment. They're not too far away, so it's
Right.
not a crazy road trip or anything like that either way. They don't get as many in-person fans for the Friday night games as Saturdays do, but I understand viewership covers the rest of that for us. But yeah, I mean, we'll play whoever, whenever, but yeah, good opportunity to play Friday night. I think we're the only game tomorrow, and so we get that ahead of the weekend, and then kind of reset the dial going into conference play.
Yeah. As you know, Pete, viewership on TV still means that we're all texting each other. What was he thinking? Why is Coach Milliman making that play? Anyway,
probably a good thing I'm not on those text chats.
Yeah. All in love, of course. So tell us a little bit about the game tomorrow. There is sort of a special, sort of topic event around
theme with it. Yeah,
it's a mental health awareness game.
Yeah, so we do a number of sponsorships for different games, and to kind of get an off-field focus as well, and try and bring awareness. And and a benefit to a certain cause if we can. And so this will be mental health awareness game. There'll be some charity opportunities, for folks. We're gonna, we have a sign that used to hang on the wall here with a big Blue Jay logo that we had the whole team sign, and we're going to auction that off as a fundraising item. So that'll get sent out with a picture of it, so you guys can all see what that is. It's pretty cool item, but all going to benefit mental health support for student athletes and our Blue Jay family. And we prioritize it. The department here prioritizes it, does a great job making sure that the needs are met as much as we possibly can. With in-house counselors and student health center and things like that. And so, meant to bring some awareness to that and continue to elevate the importance of advocating and staying connected and supporting each other, and really more than anything, breaking down the stigma of what it means to need some help and to ask for those things from people when you need them.
Right. And we noted before, we actually have hired sort of a mental health associate athletic director who focuses on that area for our players.
Yeah, an in-house counselor with the department. His name is Brock Turnbull. He's a Blue Jay alum, played lacrosse here,
the pride of Hereford High.
Yeah, and he's doing a great job. Yeah, he's visible. He's around. He's making his presence known so that if our guys need to make the outreach, he's obviously got a connection to the department and the athletics here at Hopkins. But he's a Blue Jay lacrosse player, which helps a ton. So we're real excited to have him here.
Yeah, shout out to Brock. Great,
absolutely. He's been great.
All right, so we're going to wrap up in a little bit, but we have to obviously put in a couple history lessons. And I admit that I am not rattling all these names off the top of my head. I know most of them off the top of my head. Others I had to sort of do some research, but it dawned on me because I had worked years ago for the late, great Jerry Schneidman, who was class of 67 and a first-team All-American. I knew that the rivalry in the 60s with the Naval Academy was legendary. And so for the fans out there, I looked it up in the 1960s decade. So from 60 to 69, there were 10 championships. There was no NCAA tournament. You had to win out or there was like a decision factor in who was the national championship. All those national championships in that decade were won by either Navy or Hopkins. 7 by Navy, 2 by Johns Hopkins, and then another championship in 67 that was a dual title. So both teams actually were named co-champions. So heck of a history there. I know we have a couple listeners who are from the 60s. I heard from the great Bobby Carter, who talked about the Vodcast, but we're going to give a shout out to the 60s guys because the Navy Hopkins matchups were legendary then.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had first team All-Americans and All-Americans galore with guys like Joe Cowan, whose grandchildren on the team, Jimmy Lewis from Navy. Jerry Schneidman, Downey McCarty, John Cardillo. I love these names. Charlie Coker and Lucky Maloney were great players for the Hop. We had an assistant coach for years and a football coach named Jerry Pfeiffer. Jerry Pfeiffer was a first-team All-American, and then Navy had great guys like John McIntosh, Carl Tomulovich, and then Dennis Whittakin. I actually knew the Whittakin kids growing up in Catonsville. But anyway, great rivalry, and we look forward to it. The game Friday will be at 7 o'clock on the ESPN Plus at Homewood.
Correct. Yeah,
what do you think of that?
That's pretty. I mean, legendary backgrounds from the two programs and the rivalry, and understanding the heyday with that rivalry, how special that was to have 10 straight championships, won or shared by just two teams. Pretty neat, and some of the best players ever, and I think it's important for our guys to have reverence for that history and that tradition.
Yeah, make sure the young men know that when they come into the locker room tomorrow. But also, Navy was legendary in football back in those days, and a lot of those football players, instead of doing spring football, played lacrosse and became All-Americans. So, Pete, I have 2 fun questions for you that wrap up our vodcast. Outside of your captains, senior leaders, give me a player that is a glue guy and a leadership guy. that all the guys look to, a rah-rah guy that leads the team.
Yeah, I think there are some that are rah-rah guys. There's a couple that I think just do a great job leading and having a voice when they need it. And I think Dylan Bauer is consistently in that role. Guys respond to him, they look up to him. I like Jacob Stabner for what he brings in that capacity, and for a new guy who's only been here for half a year to really settle in and fill a role like that, I think is great. Yeah, Chase is kind of a rah-rah guy. That's just the nature of his personality, but he leads in a lot of ways around there. And some of the other guys, Braxton Bowler, I think in the junior class is just a steady contributor across the board and always doing a great job there. So I will highlight those guys.
Yeah. All right. Funniest player on the team, or a few.
Yeah. I'll just give you Sam Teachout. It only says funny things. If you ask him a question, he gives you a funny answer. It's a joke constantly. He's always got one in the queue, like ready. As soon as you say, "Hey, what's up, Sam? You got a joke for me?" Like he's got a funny one ready to go. So I would just you guys can ask him every time you see him if he's got something funny to say.
Yeah. Shout out to my teammate Steve Ciccarone. He was the driest and funniest guy back in '89, and he led all the bus trips on the microphone. And as we go into the Navy game, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the great Neil Grauer, nag to many of us, class of '69, and the cartoonist for Hopkins and the Blue Jay. They inducted Neil into the Hopkins Hall of Fame for his contributions.
Mm-hmm.
Does he still do the Blue Jay drawings versus the opponent each week on the corkboard?
He does.
Okay.
Yeah, he does. He actually he sends them to me here, and I'll show you. I keep a file folder.
Oh, wow. These are the originals, correct?
These are originals.
Yeah.
And this is actually last year's folder, I think. I have this year's, but we print them up into posters and we hang them on the door. I'll get a picture of it so we can post it up here. But Neil Grauer in the Hall of Fame, one of the best induction speeches I've ever heard in my life.
I saw a recording of it.
It was outstanding.
By the way, we'll have Ernie LaRosa, our great SID, post a traditional, like a long time Navy Hopkins cartoon, hopefully on this podcast for everyone to see, when we played Navy back in the '70s. But Neil is a gem. He's what makes Hopkins special.
All
right, Pete. All the best to you Friday. Good luck to the Jays. Again, 7 p.m. at Homewood. It'll be on ESPN Plus, and stick 'em Jays.
Go Jays.